Then in Sports Central, we go over our next team prediction of this offseason, and it's going to be over the Iowa Hawkeyes, a team that went 8-5 overall in the 2022 season. Not a bad season for Iowa. This team didn't quite win the division, but still they were a contender in the Big Ten last season. But how will this team be in 2023, and why I think this team could potentially be a dark horse contender in the 2023 season is what we'll be talking about here today. We'll be analyzing this team and predict their schedule game by game in this video. Let's get started with a quick recap of 2022. Once again, the record was 8-5 overall, and this was a very similar team to what we've seen in years past with Iowa. This was a team with a strong defense last season, but offensively they struggled for the majority of the season, and that really held this team back. I mean, you think back to 2021, it was the offense that held this team back, and the same story was in 2022. I mean, you look at the Week 1 game against South Dakota State, the final score was 7-3. And the funny thing is that 7 points for Iowa wasn't even a touchdown. It was a field goal and 2 safeties. Just a wild first game of the season there. And that was, I think that game kind of told the story of, yeah, this was going to be a team kind of similar to years past, with a strong defense but a poor offense. And the next week, lost Iowa State 10-7. Only scored 7 points in that one, and Iowa State pulled the upset. And Iowa State, being a poor team last season, just should not have beaten Iowa. But the next week showed some potential, beat Nevada 27-0. Just a wild start to the season for the Hawks. I mean, if I remember right, that Nevada game was the one that got delayed for a long time, and that game was played into the late hours of the night. But a shutout win there, and then beat Rutgers the next week 27-10. Lost to Michigan 27-14. Michigan eventually made it to the college football playoff once again. So not a terrible loss there, 27-14. Lost to Illinois 9-6, another brutal low-scoring game. Lost to Ohio State. This was where the defense really kind of broke in this game. Lost to Ohio State 54-10. But from that point on, this team definitely showed some big improvement. Beat Northwestern 33-13. Took on Purdue on the road, beat them 24-3. The eventual Big Ten West champion there, an impressive win. Beat Wisconsin 24-10, beat Minnesota 13-10, but then lost to Nebraska to finish out the regular season 24-17. This was the main disappointing loss down the stretch. Otherwise, this team was really impressive in their last few games, and you saw this defense over and over again just be so dominant over the course of 2022. Is just the offense once again that came back to bite in a lot of these close games. I mean, you consider the Iowa State loss, the Illinois loss, even the Nebraska loss. All three of those were really close, and the offense really had some issues in each of those games. I mean, you flip all three of those, this is suddenly an 11-win team, and that's something to keep in mind as we talk about this team looking forward to 2023. I mean, you look at the Kentucky win to finish out the season 21-0 in dominant Iowa fashion defensively, shutting out Kentucky. It was an 8-5 season. Not a bad year for Iowa, but that said, let's take a look at 2023 now. Your roster preview heading into the season. Spencer Petras is gone, which honestly, it's for the better. I mean, Spencer Petras, he's been around for a couple of years with the Hawks. He's been their primary starter, but he just was not that good in 2022, just so inconsistent. But Cade McNamara is coming in from Michigan. This is a huge addition here. I mean, the quarterback situation the past 2-3 years or so for Iowa has just been a mess. And you consider bringing in Spencer Petras now, I'd say this is a huge addition for this team. He definitely shows a lot more potential than say Spencer Petras or Alex Padilla ever did. But the backfield looks pretty good. Caleb Johnson coming back, LaShawn Williams coming back. So you got your top two running backs returning. You do lose Sam Laporta, your top tight end, who put up just over 600 yards last season and a touchdown. I mean, this Iowa offense, you got great tight ends, maybe a good running back once in a while, and the quarterback situation is always just less than ideal. But I think that could be a different story looking forward to 2023 with Cade McNamara. This is exactly what this offense needs to bring this team into contention, I think. But yeah, Nico Regini's also coming back, top wideout. So things are looking, I'd say, pretty good overall with skill players. Lose 2 on the O-line, 2 defensive linemen, 2 linebackers, and then 2 in the secondary. So you're losing a few key defensive players, but not a significant amount, even though there's a few key players that's going to be tough to replace. But this offense, I mean, it's held this team back the past few years, especially the last 2 years. I mean, 2021 and 2022, I think this team could definitely have been maybe even a national contender if this offense was just better. I mean, defensively, this team has has brought the potential to this team. It's just the offense that has definitely let this team down, but that's something every Iowa fan knows. But the quarterback situation is going to be way better. I mean, overall, the production coming back is really promising. So offensively, this team should definitely be better. It's just a matter of the defense. You are losing a few key players on defense. I think this team should be able to rebuild pretty easily. It shouldn't be an issue. I mean, this team has still got some good depth. But it's something to keep in mind. I think this is going to be a much more balanced team in 2023 as far as it goes offensively and defensively. There's not going to be a huge standout one side of the ball like it has been the past couple of years with the defense. But honestly, I think that's for the better. I mean, I think this is going to be a much more well-rounded team in 2023. And is this team going to be potentially a true dark horse contender? I think if you look at this offense, I mean, Cade McNamara brings a lot more potential. This offense definitely has got a higher ceiling. This team has got a pretty high ceiling, I think, looking forward to 2023, much more so than the past couple of years. And so this team could be a dark horse contender. The Big Ten West is wide open. If this team can get 10 or 11 wins, even if they can get to 11 wins, get to Indy and win that game, this team is in the college football playoff. So it's right there for Iowa, and the Big Ten West will be wide open, I can guarantee you, once again, as we look forward to 2023. But your transfer portal and recruiting, Cade McNamara, mentioned him, he's coming in from Michigan. Deacon Hill is coming in from Wisconsin to add some depth to the quarterback room. Alex Padilla is off to SMU. Gavin Williams, running backs, off to Northern Illinois. You also got Eric Alt coming in, tight end from Michigan. Caleb Brown, receiver, coming in from Ohio State. You do lose a couple of receivers. That does concern me a little bit. Arlen Bruce off to Oklahoma State, and then Keegan Johnson off to K-State. Keegan Johnson didn't play too much last season, but he is a key receiver for this team, or that is on this team. But otherwise, Rusty Feth, a guard on the O-line, is coming in from Miami, Ohio. Dejon Parker is coming in from Incarnate Word. So you got a couple coming in for the offensive line, which both of them expect them to have immediate impacts. Isaiah Bruce, defensive lineman's in the transfer portal. You got Nick Jackson coming in, linebacker from Virginia. And you lose a few defensive players here. Justin Jacobs is off to Oregon. Terry Roberts off to Miami. Dallas Kradiath is off to Kent State, and then Reggie Bracey's off to Troy. Recruiting-wise, not too bad. 39th in the country, 7th in the Big Ten. You got 2 4-stars coming in, 23 stars. So you're kind of in the middle of the road in the Big Ten. Overall, not terrible. You got a couple key players coming in from the transfer portal. So not too bad, nothing too outstanding, kind of middle of the road. But on the future forecast meter, I do have this team at an 8 out of 10. I think in the immediate future, the next season or two, this team should definitely be a contender. I think the future is overall bright for this team. And I mean, this is a team that is usually kind of in that 7 to 9 win range, maybe 10 win range in the Big Ten. But the question is, can this team take that next step and be even more of a contender, maybe even nationally? Well, let's take a look at the schedule now. So you got Utah State at home in week 1, and then Iowa State on the road in week 2, Western Michigan week 3 at home, and then Penn State on the road to kick off the conference schedule. Michigan State at home on September 30th, and then Purdue at home for your first Big Ten West game. And then you got Wisconsin on the road, a huge game there. Minnesota at home, Northwestern in a neutral location after your bye. Rutgers at home, Illinois at home, and then Nebraska on the road to finish out the regular season. So your crossover games into the East Division are against Penn State, Michigan State, and Rutgers. Honestly, it could be worse. Penn State's going to be a tough road game. Michigan State could be better, but you do have them at home, so the crossover games aren't too bad. But I'd say the most important game is definitely against Wisconsin. Honestly, when it comes down to it, your top 2 teams in the Big Ten West, I'm assuming, will be Iowa and Wisconsin. I think both teams are definitely in a great position to be in control of the division. But looking at September, so Utah State at home, easy win. And then you got Iowa State on the road. You're going to get a close win here. I think Iowa State hangs in there. They did beat Iowa last season, which really shouldn't have happened. You're having to go to Ames this season. So a close game, but you beat Iowa State this season. Then you got Western Michigan, easy win against them. So it should be a 3-0 start to the season. And then Penn State on the road. This is a tough one. I do think Iowa hangs in there. I think this is going to be a night game here too. So I'm going to be taking Penn State in Happy Valley. I just think that's too tough of a game on the road there for Iowa to win. So I'm going to take Penn State, but a close game there, and I think the Hawks hang in there. Maybe a lower scoring defensive matchup. So you're 3-1 heading into the Michigan State game. Close win there, but you beat them. And then Purdue, I think Purdue falls off quite a bit in 2023. They're just not going to be the same offensively. They're losing a few defensive players. No more Jeff Brom either. So Purdue falls off quite a bit. I kind of see them struggling to even make it to a bowl game. So easy win there in the Wisconsin on the road. This is a huge game. Honestly, the winner of this game could very well win the Big Ten West and put themselves in Indy. But I'm going to take Wisconsin here. It's in Camp Randall. It's a tough place to play. I do think a close game here, a low-scoring matchup like most games are in the Big Ten West. But give me Wisconsin to win this one. I think Wisconsin is they're going to be pretty good the next couple of years, I really do think, and I really like what Luke Fickell's doing. So I'm going to take Wisconsin there, an easy win against Minnesota. Then after that, so you're 6-2 heading into November. You got Northwestern there. I think that game's in Chicago at Soldier Field, but I do think you beat them pretty easily. And then Rutgers, easy win there as well. And then Illinois, you take care of them in a close one. I think Illinois is kind of a wild card team in the Big Ten West. They could be good, they could be bad, for all we know. I mean, they surprised a lot in 2022, being as good as they were. Honestly, they probably were the best team in the Big Ten West, but Purdue just won the division in the end. But I'm going to be taking Iowa there. I just think Illinois, too many question marks offensively for me to pick them there. And then Nebraska on the road. I'm going to be taking Nebraska here. This is a game where definitely it could go either way. It is at Nebraska. A tougher place to play, but I will say this: I've got 3 losses for Iowa this season. I think you lose to Penn State, and I think you lose to Wisconsin for sure. The 3rd loss is going to be somewhere where you might not expect it. So I do think Nebraska is a possibility. I've got it being Nebraska, but it could be against Illinois. It could be against even Iowa State on the road, maybe if they can pull an upset. So it really could be just somewhere on the schedule. There's going to be a 3rd loss. Along with the Penn State and Wisconsin losses. So I've got a 9-3 record for Iowa, but 10-2 is very much within reason. I mean, 10-2 is right there as well. I just don't know if this team is going to be consistent enough to be able to pull out a 10-win season, even 11-win. But once again, 9 to 10 wins is where I have this team for sure. Either 9 or 10 wins, very much at the top of the Big Ten West. It is unfortunate, though, that you got Wisconsin on the road this season. If you had them at home, that would be ideal for sure, but it is a tough road game. But 11-1 is the ceiling, so I think that's the best possible record this team could have. 7-5 is the floor. That's the worst possible record this team could have. So I think 7 wins and 11 wins is pretty unlikely, but I've definitely got you either 9 or 10 wins, I'd say, for the upcoming season. This should be a solid team. Offensively, they should be better. Defensively, if they can rebuild, this could definitely be a dangerous team, and I've got them at 9-3. But let me know your thoughts in the comments below on Iowa, and I appreciate you guys watching as always. Stay tuned for more from All Sports Central. Catch you on the next one.